Well, hello. Today I'd like to talk to you about notebooks. Got a few visual aids. Basically, it's B-roll filmed on my desk while I was dealing with a medical issue. But I want to mention in my video description, I put an AI-generated summary of the video. Be curious to know how well you think it did. I also put a link to the full, let's call it a script. And let's get started on it. So I also had the AI come up with the title of the video, so that's fun. I literally called the video Notebooks. That was my title. This is what Evernote's AI came up with. So anyway, in my opinion, so everything here, well, most of it is my opinion. Just keep that in mind. The best tools for thinking are a writing utensil and paper. You can capture ideas, you can record thoughts, and refer to them in the future. And the notebook allows a lot of flexibility for you to record those thoughts. Now, in the modern world, you've got all kinds of electronics and other pieces of technology. So, surely the humble notebook is obsolete, right? Now, I'll admit it. It's sitting over there. I own a remarkable tablet. Nope, I'm not using a superlative. That's literally the brand name. It's a Remarkable is the brand tablet. It's a wonderful e-ink device, so kind of like a Kindle or a Nook, that allows handwriting, and also you can buy a keyboard with it. It was a vital part of the workflow that I used to create this video. But so was a relatively humble paper notebook. And that's where I want to focus today. So, electronic alternatives have some real attractions. Most of them are searchable. Even Remarkable, if I do my keywords and stuff, is searchable. Written text can often be converted to typed. The Remarkable is very good at that. You can rearrange pages or paragraphs, which I did in writing this, which we'll get to that. And on many platforms, there's no limits to page size. And they can also be handwritten, and you can flip through them, like paper, sort of, although they're going, and it's not quite the same as paper, but, But I don't usually start my creative process with the electronic. On paper, it's just so much easier to see all the notes and to stumble on things by accident. I will concede that the Remarkable tablet is as close to paper as I found in the electronic world, but it's not paper. So one important notebook is the humble pocket notebook. I put my visual aids away. A little tiny notebook. Cute little thing that you can just carry with you everywhere. I never travel without something like that, where I can just record thoughts as they bounce randomly into my brain. I had tried a high-tech solution that was recommended to me. I forget what it was called. It was some program where you could talk into it would convert it to text. I hated that, and I never used it, and then I never got the notes off of it. So quit doing that. The humble paper notebook was just better, and I can tell you from brutal personal experience that I have had that moment where I had a brilliant thought, and, I'll remember that. Nope, she's gone. That train left the building without me, to quote Chris Sains. So the notebook is kind of like your world. You can organize it as much or as little as you want. You can capture ideas, you can sketch, you can brainstorm, you can journal, or whatever you want to do. The only thing I do suggest, and I've learned this from experience, number the pages and create a table of contents. That's going to help you find things, especially as the notebook gets bigger. So, if I have something new, except in the pocket notebook, because that's usually a few lines of thought. If I have a new idea, it gets a new page. And if some of my thoughts are on these pages, then we got some new stuff, and then we go back to the old thoughts. So be it. That's what the table of contents is for. Now, notebooks do come with a lot of choices of paper which did not film very well. I tried. I think I need better lighting and probably a proper camera to show that. But do you like blank pages? I found that I do. Maybe you prefer a dot grid, which is kind of my second favorite. Many people choose dot grid or graph paper. And then, of course, the most common one is lined paper. Some notebooks even alternate different kinds of marking on their pages. So maybe you can have blank here, lined here, or grid here, lined here. Or, oops, see, I'm far enough back from my notes I can see them without my glasses, but I'm holding them like as a security blanket. But anyway, so you've got a lot of possibilities there. And, you know, if you use an electronic notebook, of course, you can do whatever you want. But like I said, I'm starting with the paper. I have heard the notebook called a second brain. You can capture random ideas. You can develop them. You can brainstorm. You're capturing your thinking, not the finished product. You're not probably even going to show it to others. And by the way, I'm not talking about journaling. That's a whole other ball of wax. I don't want to go there today. But this is the messy basis behind your masterpieces. You know, Agatha Christie's notebooks have been well studied, and hers are all over the place. Just fill them with sketches, sketch notes, research. Maybe you want to try out a scene or some bits of dialogue if you're writing a fiction piece. Maybe you want to write down a cooking idea. Maybe you have ideas for your dream house. Maybe you'll even tape in photos to help you create your dream house. So yeah, in that case, like a big project like that, you may actually want a dedicated notebook. One limitation of a notebook is you can't reorder pages. There are binders. So sometimes you can buy notebooks that are pre-punched for the binder and let you tear out pages. I've owned those. A lot of the wire-bound notebooks I've found are like that, where you can actually, there's micro perforations on the pages that allow you to tear them out neatly. Of course, there's several styles of notebook of binder. There are the 3-ring binders. I don't care for them, but they're handy. I use them at work a lot. The reason I don't care for them is it's so often those prongs get misaligned, and then every time you turn a page is rip over where it's misaligned. Also, it's only 3 rings holding it in place. And you can get 3-ring folders that have just little fold-down tabs for the 3 rings. So that's nice for carrying around with you, because a 3-ring binder isn't very portable. But there's the Japanese style binders with lots of rings. And, if you type a lot of stuff, I've found it handy. I've got one type of binder that has like a little clamp that you can clamp your pages in. Usually only up to about 100. And then for longer term storage, there's this 2-prong folder thing where you can store lots of pages and even mark them to find them later, which is handy. I often like the binder for book notes, stuff like characters, places, things, technology, maps, and all that kind of stuff. I can organize it as needed. And these things may eventually get typed, maybe not. Binder's handy for holding them typed, too. But the ultimate flexibility is just that humble notebook. You probably have used Notecards to study. They are also handy for note-taking. Some might even say they're even more flexible, but I don't like them as well because they get to be unwieldy, but I like them for research. But the general idea is you put one idea per card, then they can be pulled out and ordered into a rough outline. If you're recording research, I usually number them, and then I have an Evernote document with all my sources. And source 1 is Carl Sagan's Cosmos, and I have all the information, the bibliographic information, or maybe it's a website or whatever. But if you've watched some of my better researched driving videos, which I haven't made any lately, but I need to, that's what forms the basis of the numbers that you see down in the corner of the screen. I'm referencing my sources. Some people keep drawers full of cards. I got a book I want to read by Umberto Eco that's all about, he's an author, a philosopher, and a professor, that's all about organizing your notes and taking notes on note cards. There are schemes like pile of cards. They're very flexible. I tend not to keep them when my project is done, but sometimes I wish I had. And I did buy 2 nice old metal card boxes at a thrift store to keep some of my index cards, so there's that. But what I'm trying to say is I firmly believe in the power of pen and paper. So there's a fountain pen channel. This is a fountain pen channel after all. I am not used to having like a script in front of me and trying to make eye contact with you at the same time. Usually these are dry. This is actually because of my eye accident. I was thinking about making this driving video this week, but here I am. But there are wonderful bits of technology and programs out there. I like Evernote to keep my digital notes. That's where this set of random ideas that turned into this video ended up. And you have a link to it in the video description. There are other programs like Notion, OneNote, which is a Microsoft thing, Google Keep, and Apple Notes. They all have their own individual strengths and weaknesses. Since this isn't a technology channel, I'm not going to get into that too deep, but there are channels out there that explore that part of the world. I have used Evernote and OneNote quite extensively because Evernote for my use, OneNote more for school use because we get it through, we have an Office 365 thingy at school. And I have some experience with Notion. I like it, but I just haven't gotten into it. So Evernote is really the granddaddy in this world, and that's what I use. I'm not endorsing the program. It's gotten to be kind of expensive that I've actually thought about dropping it, but I haven't dropped it, mainly because I'm very vested in the program. I got a lot of stuff here I'd have to move, but it is what I use. My big suggestion is pick one and master it. Maybe every 10 years or so, think about, do I want to stay with this or do I want to go a different route? But just pick one and master it. I don't like OneNote at all, but I use it at work. Evernote's great for collecting articles, organizing notes, making bibliographies, finalizing scripts for YouTube. If you follow my channel, you know most of my videos, actually, like this one, link back to an Evernote page with text links and sometimes photographs. Non-YouTube projects usually end up in a word processor occasionally, or more often I like to use LaTeX, which is a typesetting software, or Typora, which is, it's called a markup editor. Now, as you page through your notebook, you're going to discover a lot of trash. My cool built-in bookshelf / fold-out desk, where the computer I'm reading this from is sitting right now, it came from a notebook. Actually, in the notebook, this whole wall and back there is lined with a built-in bookshelf. Part of that built-in bookshelf has the fold-down desk, which would be a lot more securely built if I didn't buy the cheapest one I could find off of Amazon, because the only place I could find one. And it has a window seat right here, which doesn't make sense with this window, but that's what's in the notes. I have none of that, but I did buy that nice fold-down desk. Like I said, the cheapest one I could find on Amazon. But anyway, that was inspired there. So gems like that are probably in there. And waiting till the right moment to get turned into something. So now you have this notebook. It's messy. It's probably a cringy reflection of your brain. It's just for you. Some people use notebooks for their very own private journaling. I don't want to go there. That's a different world. Journaling is a little different from note-taking. And I don't do a whole lot of journaling. But I want to give you a use case from my job. And this might be a little uncomfortable for some of you, so just fair warning. I am a high school teacher. One thing that goes with teaching is the importance of documentation. Kids say things, they do things, you have parent contacts, and it's important to document this stuff. Especially if you're seeing a trend. And sometimes it can be a legal document. You never called me about my kid. Well, actually I did on this date, this date, this date, and here's what we talked about. Sometimes you're documenting what the kid says. So I don't want to get into specifics here. But I'm going to tell you about one of my colleagues with a young student, so elementary, obviously. She began to document some of the things a girl in her class was saying, and some of it was deeply sexual and weirdly specific and not at all appropriate for the age of this girl. And, of course, teachers are mandated reporters, which means if we suspect abuse, we are required to report it. What it turns out that there was sexual abuse going on in that house, and this teacher's notes got this girl and her sister removed from that house. So, professionally, in my world, this can become a legal document. It can even protect you from a lawsuit. It's important to write this stuff down. And other professions have the same thing. Laboratory notebooks are a whole genre of notebooks used in the scientific community to document their research and work. You often see on movies where they'll either videotape themselves or they'll talk into a recorder, which I guess is a thing, but the written notebook is often a legal document that here is our record of our research, and this is why we have a patent for it and you don't. So, yeah, it can be used in cases like copyright, plagiarism, patent disputes. So, yeah, your notebook can be vital. And you write down everything. Oh, this is a failed experiment. Now we know. Somebody else could look at the notebook and say, well, you dumbass, this is what you did wrong. So it could be mined in the future for new ideas. So with my job, usually what I do is, if I have notes like that, I will write them into the planner on my Remarkable tablet. Now, I used to use the paper notebook, but it's not secure. And then I will transfer them to my... I had been using Evernote, but I'm going to switch to using OneNote so I can separate worlds even more, because I try to keep them separate. I don't have a page for every kid I teach. I would need over 100 different pages. But once I have a note on a kid, that kid gets a page. And, most of your kids, you're not going to be writing notes on them, unless you're teaching in a very interesting school, in which case you probably have fewer kids. But every time I do an entry, they get a date and a time, and, maybe photos of something weird they wrote. All that can go in there. Now, obviously not something I want laying around. I don't let students go through my desk or use my computer. My Remarkable tablet has a passcode. And this is stuff about other people. What if you have some personal notes? And again, this kind of verges on the journaling side. But, I just want to mention that maybe some of that stuff you don't want to write down. And if you do write it down, you want to make sure it's secure. And nothing is secure once written down. There's always a chance. So don't write it down if it's that bad. You're going to have to decide that for yourself. And again, that gets more into the journaling side of things, balancing the risk with the therapy. I have a shredder. I have used it to get rid of stuff that I'm like, maybe somebody can go through my trash and reconstruct it, but probably not. Anyway, to return to the main premise of the video, your notebook is a second brain. Record your thoughts and experiences there in a way that works for you. Find a format that works for you, whether it's a binder, whether it is dot grid paper, blank paper, whatever works for you. Find what works for you. And you can mine it later to produce things, maybe years later. Maybe I will get rich and build this built-in here. Probably not, unless I change jobs, but this desk that this computer and this microphone and these lights are sitting on right now are a tangible result of notes. So is the super cheap but very classy looking trim around my doors, fun fact. And if I ever get trim around these windows, it's going to be the same. But it has been just a gold mine of ideas as I go through it. A lot of them will probably never happen, but who knows? So this video started as disorganized, slap-down thoughts about notebooks. They weren't organized. Some was in bullet lists, some was in paragraphs, some was in drawings. I cleaned a lot of junk out of those notes to produce this. Not all my thoughts about notebooks were worth reproducing, but having that space to think and brainstorm actually does make my life better. And no, probably never have that window seat or built-in bookshelf, but it was worth thinking about them because I've already got something out of it. So, I want to thank you for watching. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.